it's Lisa. I made a set of cards for a friend of mine, but then I made a box to put them in, and it is so cute. You're going to love this. So here's my little box, and then the top just slides off, and then inside is my set of cards. So there we go. So I'm going to show you how we made the card, and then I'm also going to show you how we made the box. So thank you for joining me. I think you're really going to like today's project. A couple of the pieces I'm using on it are from our paper pumpkin kit. This month's paper pumpkin was called Batter Up, and it had some baseball elements in it, and I've been having more fun making alternate cards. I haven't really done the cards that come in there like pre-designed, but I have made some super cute cards as kind of like alternate ideas, and this is one of them. If you've been on my blog, you've seen the others. This was another of an easel card, and the stamps and the pieces on the inside are from that kit. The card is super simple. I have here a card base, and so this would be 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. We're just going to fold that in half. I always make sure that my ends, you know, are really pushed up, and then I go back this way because I want to make sure that I'm all squared up on the ends. To me, that's the most important part. And often I will bring in my trimmer and I will butt it up to an edge and use that to make sure I'm flush, and then push out and flatten my card. And then of course you see how they pop up like that? That's what a bone folder is for. A lot of people say, I don't know what these things are for. What would you use them for? They don't look very useful. Well, they are. They're very useful for scoring things and for flattening out our crease in this card. The next layer is going to be very vanilla. And I'm reaching over here to my drawer because I always have lots of layers of very vanilla and Whisper White cut out ahead of time. I actually have a very large cutter that I take all my like full packs of paper to, and I cut them into 4" by 5 1/4. And before I had my big cutter, I'd actually take it down to like Staples, Office Depot, one of those large places, and just have them cut one pack. One of very vanilla, one of Whisper White, and I stuck it in the drawer, and I have the insides of my cards in a basic layer for a lot of cards. There's 40 sheets, 4 per sheet, 160. So it lasts for a while. I'll have to admit, nowadays I have to do 2 at a time, but it is a very easy way to save some time. Then I'm going to reach over here for my Pendaflex folders, because across the bottom I want to do just a strip of each. So I'm going to do a 1" strip of pumpkin pie, and then a 3/4" strip of basic white. And I could have done these at 1 1/4 and 1, you know, and you can adjust it however big your sentiment is. But I was going to use what came in the Hat Builder set. So here we have, you know, You're the Best, Here's to the Next Adventure, To the Guy Who Wears Many Hats, Go Get 'Em Tiger. So any of these would work. So I'm going to pull out You're the Best. And then I always use my grid paper to help line up my stamp. And then of course we stamp before gluing it down, because if there's ever a boo-boo, we want to be able to flip. So let's bring in pumpkin pie. And because I'm going to put the hat on this side, I'm going to put my sentiment on the left so that it offsets kind of. Well, I guess I should have done very vanilla, huh? I'm so used to automatically using white, I didn't even think about it. But that's okay, I have some cut. We'll just do this again. And that's where I got sloppy. You'll notice I got ink all over my block. So we'll just stick that over there and that'll get cleaned. So I'm going to put my 3/4" strip over my 1" strip. And they're too long. don't worry about it. I know that. We're going to cut it after the fact because I don't know about you, but on the trimmer, I can be just the teensiest bit off and it not fit exactly right, and that drives me nuts. So I usually tend to leave it at whatever length I have it at. Because I mean, I'm going to be cutting stuff off anyway, so it doesn't matter if I did it before or after, right? But if I do it after, then I know I'm exactly the right length. So I'm going to tape those two together, and then I'm going to put some adhesive back here, and then I'm going to lay it on my layer. And then because of the color difference, it's going to be really easy to flip it over and cut from the back side and just trim off any excess. And now I know it fits exact. And now I can go ahead and glue it because the rest is all die cuts. And the die cuts are the coordinating set that goes with the Hats Off bundle. We have the Hat Builder dies, and they have a large hat and a small one. The large hat does fit the large stamp. I stamped it in black, and so I wasn't going to be able to see it real well anyway, so I just went ahead and die cut it. But if you'll notice, it cuts the stitching lines, and so it's stitched. And so that really gives me my definition. And then I used the Playful alphabet dies, and I cut out an S and an F because I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, and my daughter would not forgive me if I did any other team. So those are going to go there. And I was smart enough to put the adhesive sheet on the back first. We have adhesive sheet that comes in strips that are, I think, 6 inches by 12. And then you just peel this off and stick it on the back of the cardstock and then die cut. And then when you're ready to adhere it to your project, it's just a matter of picking off the back like you're adhering a sticker. And then I had a couple stars. And I think I'm going to put this on with dimensionals. This is really easy. That's what I try to tell you guys. I try to pick projects that, you know, they look from a distance to be hard, but when we start putting it together, it's really not. And even the box isn't going to be that hard. You will see. Okay, so then I think I would put one more star over here just because this looks blank to me. But then that would be your card. And then we do an inside. But I'm going to go ahead and skip the inside because I want to get to the box. I think you're really going to like the box. Here I have, this is the main part of the box. The box has two pieces. It has a top and a bottom. The top is decorated, the bottom is not. And so the two pieces for the outside are going to make this half. Sorry. Two pieces for the outside are this half, two pieces for the inside are this half. The reason it's two pieces is because otherwise it wouldn't be long enough, because they come 8.5 by 11 and we really need 14 inches. It wouldn't have worked even if I had 12 by 12, which I do, but it wouldn't have worked. So I'm going to take my 7 by 6.5, which is my inside section, and then I'm going to bring over my score thing. This is simply scored. And as I'm thinking about it, I'm going to have to use the trimmer for the other because I'm going to freak you out. I know you guys really get wigged out when I do an 1/8 of an inch. For this one, we're going to need to do a 1/16. And it's only because we need like the width of a piece of paper, because it's going to slip one over the other. And if they were cut exactly the same size, they're not going to fit. They're going to like bump into each other. So don't think of it as a 1/16 of an inch. Just say just a titch over. And I'll show you that on the trimmer when we do our next piece. But for these ones, I'm just doing 1 inch in from 3 sides. So 1 across the bottom and 2 down the sides. And these will be in my blog post, of course, the measurements. And then this is where the handy dandy bone folder comes in again. Yeah, I could put a baseball too. Yeah, and a baseball is really easy to make. All you do is you make a circle, and then you do 2 I don't know, little swoops in from the side, two little half circles sort of things. And then you just do little V's along those to be the stitching. So really simple. Okay, now in order to put the box together, I want to remove the little score line here because I don't want this to be bulk when we start folding it together. So I'm just removing a little bit. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just the tiniest little wedge out from the bottom. I think of it as basically removing the scored part. And then that's just going to give me a little bit of room to be able to fold things in. And then I'm going to use liquid glue to put it together because of course we want wiggle room, right? So I'm going to put adhesive down one side. And we're going to think of this as just extending my box. So I'm taking 2 pieces of 7-inch cardstock, or I guess it's 6.5 this way, and gluing them together. So now I have one big long piece. And then I want to put it together. And I find this a very good way to make sure that you are absolutely square is to make it flat. And it's not going to stay flat because we're going to fold the bottom in. It's all going to be good. But it allows me to fold this in, put some adhesive, and know that I'm square. And you'll notice that I've got it wrapped so that it's going this way. So both sides are going down. So it's smoothest on this side. And that's on purpose because we want to be able to kind of hide our seams. I'm going to do my notches with punches. If you do not have circle punches, then you're going to want to do this with your dies before. If you have the layering circle dies, you would go ahead and punch those. And this is the inside of our box. Okay, for this second one, this is where I was talking about that 1/16 of an inch. And that's because it just needs to be just a titch bigger to be able to slide over the top. And so these ones are 7 1/16 by 6 11/16. And I know you're freaking out, right? One easy way to look at it is these little tiny lines in here between the 1 and the 2, there's 16 of them. And so if you just count, you know, the first little short one is 1, this is 2. You can even count by 2s if you went by 8ths. You go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and then 11 is going to be that short little line right before the 1 3/4. That's going to be 1 11/16. Is that making sense? Is you're counting the little lines between 1 and 2. There's 16 lines, and I wanted 7 and 11, or 6 and 11/16. So when I went and cut this, I counted over 11 of those, and it was right there. So that's 6 and 11/16. And then the other way, it was 7 and 1/16. So 7 plus 1 little niche. It put me right over that. Okay, so this one would have been the 1/8, and then 2 more over is the 1/4. Have I lost y'all yet? Okay. Now, I want this to be 1 and 1/16. So again, I'm going to go over to the 1 and 1 little smidge. So 1 and 1 mark is where I want to score, which is why I can't use the Simply Scored, because they have it at the 1/8. And I suppose you could in the room, it would just be roomier. It would have a little bit of slack to it as it slid over, which is better than having it be too tight, because then it wouldn't fit at all and it would wrinkle your cardstock and it'd all be a mess. So I'm making sure that this is the longer direction. So this is my 7 1/16 this way. And then I'm going to fold the two in. So now remember, these two pieces are almost exactly the same. There's a little bit of a difference on the size measurements, but the way it all glues together is the same. So I have my flaps on the long sides and across the bottom. I'm going to take a pair of paper snips. I'm going to remove the score line. And now I'm ready to overlap them. Then again, I'm folding this one flat. I'm putting some adhesive here and folding this one over. Now I could have removed the extra flap because, you know, down here at the end there's two flaps, but in my opinion it just makes it a little bit stronger, so that's okay. And then I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on those so that when I close the first flap, those pieces will stick to it. So that's one. So I'm going to go this way, and I'll show you why in a minute. So the reason I went that way is I wanted all of my flaps to fold over the same direction and be nice and neat. So it gives that nice smooth finish all the way around. Then I'm going to come in again with my punch and give this a little bit of a snip. And again, you would have done this with the dies before putting it together if you don't have the punches, because it'd be hard to fit this through the die cutting machine once it's 3D, right? Okay, so now we have part 1 and part 2 of our box. And you see one slides over the other. That's where that 1/16 of an inch came in handy, is it allows it to slide. It fits perfectly, and that's because it's 1/16. If the 1/16 bothers you and you want to go with an 1/8, you know, that's okay. I think a 1/4 would be too much play, but... And here I have my adhesive remover because I guess I goobered a little here. Now we're ready to decorate the box. Now the first thing I'm going to do with the decoration is I want to make sure I'm dealing with the top. Okay, this one's definitely the top. This is getting our decoration. So I'm going to slide my cards into the bottom so I don't get them confused. And we're decorating this one. So I have 2 pieces of our designer series paper, and this is the new pack for the hostesses. I don't know if you saw that in the back of the catalog, but there's usually just stamp sets that are a host gift, or if you place a $150 order, you get something free. And it's always been a stamp set. This time there's a pack of DSP, but don't discount it thinking, oh my gosh, that's only an $11 pack of paper, because it's not. It's like 3 times as thick. So back here you'll notice that this Pattern Party DSP, these are all 12 by 12 sheets. So they're big. And then there's 48 of them. Now normally in our designer series packs, I think there's 12. Yes, there's 12 sheets. And so really this one back here is the equivalent of 4 packs of designer series paper. So there's a lot of DSP in this pack. And I just took one and I cut 2 pieces that are, again, what I said, 6 inches by 5 inches. And then I'm going to score them on the sides. So I'm going to come in with my trimmer. And for this one, I want 11/16. And so remember before we did 1 1/16, and so it was just that one little mark over. So there's 5 more slots before the 16, because it's 16/16 would be 1 inch. So it's just under the 3/4 of an inch. And you know, I guess you could have, you know, scored one side and then come over here and said, okay, well, you know, I think it's going to fold right about here, and then folded it So if you don't want to do this on the trimmer, you can, you know, manually just it over. Just be careful that you know, get where you want it. But that does work. So again, just under 3/4 of an inch. Okay, now, again, we were talking about how I had folded everything, you know, so that the messy sides were to the back. Then they're not messy, but you know what I mean. The seam is on the back. So again, I'm going to do that again. So I want my top piece to wrap the same direction. So I want to do the bottom one first so that this will overlap it and put my seam at the back. Is that making sense? But if you'll notice, I have this piece of ribbon in the top, and so we're going to adhere that first before we put on the designer series paper. So this is some of the new ribbon out of our new annual catalog. I want to say I used about 6 inches, and then I wanted it to really stick well, and I was, you know, trying to use my snail and it wasn't really sticking. Didn't really want to use liquid glue, so I pulled out my handy dandy tear and tape, and that did work. So I wanted a little bit of adhesive at either end. Lisa, how did I get the name? Oh, Queen Bee. Do you remember Mary Englebright? Like a really long time ago, Mary Englebright had everything. She had calendars, she had teapots, she had all kinds of stuff. She's an artist, and she did the Queen of Everything. And so back when I first started scrapbooking, I did a lot of scrapbooking with her papers, and I loved the Queen of Everything. And then there was the Princess of quite a lot, and then there was the Prince of whatever's left. That was like her series of things. Okay, so my last name starts with Bernard, and so that's where I got B. So it was Queen Bee after the Mary Englebright thing. J-Lo will tell you it's something totally different. That was not my intention. Mine happened way long before J-Lo gave it a different meaning. So it's Queen Bernard based on the Queen of Everything. So kind of a long story, but makes more sense now. Okay, so I'm going to take my blank top, and I'm going to kind of about find the center. And about find the center over here, and I'm leaving my loop at the top. Okay. Then when I come in and I put on my wrap, it's going to cover that up and bury my loose ends. I love to have the frayed end, or the end that could fray, buried underneath something so that when my recipient gets it, there's no chance that the ribbon's going to come unraveled on them. And then I'm just flushing this up with the top. So again, the liquid glue is giving me the wiggle room to make sure that I am indeed lined up all the way around and even. Then I have 2 pieces of the pumpkin pie cardstock, and these are 6 3/4 inch by 1. And then I'm going to come in and trim these, score these at 1 1/16. So my 1 inch plus 1 little titch mark. So it's 1 and a smidge from either end. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a printed PDF of this with all the measurements and lots of pictures, and I'm going to include it in my customer appreciation PDF. So if you place a $30 order with me, you will get full printed directions with photos and measurements on how all this goes together. And you just place that online and use the hostess code for June. Okay, so I'm going to just mount this across the center just as a kind of a belly band. And again, everything's wrapping this direction, so I'm going to do the back first. And then to make sure I'm even, I'm going to make sure that I'm overlapping that one with my seam on the edge, pulling it over and making sure this side matches, and then I can set down the middle. Now that I'm secure that both sides are even and matched up. And then I just started decorating. And in the paper pumpkin this month, there were these pieces. And that's not to say they couldn't be cut out of dies or, you know, just a trimmer, a punch. And even the bat, if you have the, is it suit and tie dies that go with the handsomely suited, the tie actually, if you were to cut off the knot kind of, or part of the knot, actually looks like a baseball bat. And then you would just round the end where the tie is pointed, and you'd have your own baseball bat. And then, of course, you know, the home plate's just home plate shape. And then you could sponge on maybe a little bit of smoky slate or basic gray just to give it that worn look. Or even crumb cake or soft suede if you wanted to look like dirt. And then I'm going to just put these together. And this is just the layering circles dies. I used one straight and one scalloped. And all this is stuck down flat because I want to pop up the baseball. I want the baseball to have a little bit of dimension to it so it looks like it's kind of flying. So I'm going to put the bat behind it. So this was also out of the Hat Builder dies. There was the big one we used on the card, and then this little one. And there we go. There's the top of our box. So we have the bottom of the box, which will hold, in here I think I have 6 cards. I did some thank you and some happy birthday. And there's 3 and 3, so there's 6 cards and 6 envelopes. These are my pieces for the inside of the card. I haven't done those yet. But then they just slide into here. And then this is going to slide right over the top. There we go. And wouldn't this make an adorable gift? If you were going to a baby shower, you could maybe make thank you notes that you could give to the new mom that she could send out, or, you know, a bridal shower, you could do thank you notes. You could do new moms that, you know, or even moms that have little kids that go to birthday parties all the time. If you did some little kid birthday cards every time that their kid gets invited to, you know, go to Joey's birthday party from class, she would have a set of cards on hand and she could pick one of those and use it for the kid's party. But I'm going to go stay with a friend in New Mexico for a while next month, and this will be my gift to her when I go to stay, because she too loves the San Francisco Giants. So that's my project for today. I want to thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it when you guys come and chat with me as we create something fun. Yeah, any kind of design, any kind of card, you know, because it just fits your normal A2 card, which is that 5.5 by 4 1/4, which is the standard card we make all the time, and it can hold 6 of those. And I just decorated the outside of the box with the theme of the cards on the inside. So if it was filled with birthday cards, you could put birthday on the outside. If it was, you know, filled with baby thank yous, you could decorate the outside baby. If it was filled with wedding thank yous, you could put wedding theme on the outside, or just flowers and something pretty. Or even just, you know, I think nowadays it's really important to send cards just because. I mean, it might be nice to give somebody just, you know, maybe hand a neighbor a box of cards and say, just here, brighten somebody's mailbox and send out happy mail. That would be better than getting all bills in the mail, wouldn't it? So again, thank you for joining me. I hope you liked today's project and that you give it a try. It's not as scary as it sounds. And if you're looking for printed directions of this, place an order with me online using June Hostess code, and it will be included in that pack along with 5 other tutorials for some coordinating cards. So thanks for joining me, and I will see you back here next Monday at 2:30 Mountain Time for another free online class. Thanks. Bye.